Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of The Big Jalebi. This one is going to be a lot of fun because I've known this character sitting to the right of me for quite a while. We'll get into that. So as you know, Big Jalebi, we talk to thought leaders, to mentors, to motivational speakers, to high net worth individuals, to people that have done well in whatever field they've chosen to work in. And the conversation should be interesting, inspiring, and I think it's going to be a bit funny as well. So let's just start by introducing ourselves as usual. I'm Shazad Sheikh. Find me at #BrownCarGuy. Anything you need to know about cars and what car you need to buy next, talk to me. I can help you with that. And on my left, we have Kalpesh.
Yeah, you can find me in Mayfair talking about properties, so Elevation 88, and also brands, look after brands such as Gold Emotion, Gold Leaf Products. Just find me online.
And we'd like to thank the studio as well, wouldn't we?
DB Studios, good friends of ours, and have been very gracious to give us this opportunity to film here time after time.
Wonderful place. Check it out. If you have any needs in terms of filming or studio environment, this is the place to come. And over here we have Lucky Singh.
Hi guys, Lucky Singh here. I'm a business influencer on social media and I'm growing my network. I also do a podcast which is about finding your edge in life and unraveling the success of people that have been in business or property or high nets. I also run 15 service lines which help property portfolio clients to grow their portfolio. We do funding, development funding, bridging funding, quick funding, impossible funding. So that's me.
That's what you do. And aside from me, you also know our guest today, which I should say is Kalpesh Patel. You also know Kalpesh, right?
Kalpesh is my best friend. We've known each other such a long time. And
wait a minute. Wait a minute. How long is long?
It's been
it was 1996, 97, yeah.
I'm trying to work out the maths, 96. That's about
22, 23 years, give or take.
23 years. and I think that
Piffle.
And I think we are in contact with each other at least once a year.
Once a year, yeah. You know what? That sounds right with him. Believe me. So
that's a lot.
That's high frequency.
You're in my top 1%.
This is the second time I'm seeing him in 20 years.
Oh, it's been a bit more than that.
It's been a bit more. So I've known him. So I'm going to outbid you. I've known him since 1987.
Yeah.
At school.
Yeah.
We were school buddies, and we got up to a lot of stuff,
didn't we?
a lot of which maybe we shouldn't go into right now.
Well, depends on your audience's tolerance levels.
Depends on the audience. And you know what? Actually, that could be the subject of an entirely different podcast. And I think for that we need to get the other amigos together one day.
Can you imagine?
So we were a bit of a gang back in the day.
A bit of a competition here on who's your best friend.
Are you feeling a bit left out?
I'm not left out. I've got something up my sleeve that might just make us best friends forever.
Let's do this.
Let's see.
Oh, bribery. Bribery's always good.
I like Rolexes.
Is it something to do with gold or money?
It's probably gold.
So, does this help swing?
Oh my!
Swing it a bit.
Are you kidding me?
So you got Stingray Gold cigar.
Now, do you know what? That suits my image because I don't smoke, but
neither do I.
It looks
that means
gangster.
It lasts a lot longer.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there you go.
So for those who are not watching, whilst Kalpesh examines this incredible item,
when he pulled it out, I thought it was something else. I was like, hold on a second, buddy. You got me completely wrong, man.
That's a different show. Let me just describe this first. So first of all, for those people who are listening and not watching, what we have.
Amazing.
How do you describe that, Kalpesh? It's a cigar.
No, this isn't a cigar, man. This is a pimp.
It's a pimp cigar. It is a pimp. It's a Pimp My Ride cigar. It's got gold foil covering pretty much most of the length of the cigar with a black wrap around it?
It's a leather ring. That's Stingray, but you can have crocodile.
Oh my God.
You can have any exotic leather you wish.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
But there's more to it.
Yeah.
If you like to show off your cigar, then you've got to come with the box.
Oh my God. It's got its own presentation box.
Wow, and that's perfect for somebody that doesn't smoke. Exactly. I can actually, that's a showpiece.
Yeah. So it goes on there.
Oh, look at that.
And then you show people.
And you just have that on the table.
Exactly.
And is that really for me?
Yeah.
Power of negotiation.
Yeah, right.
You made it to the top 1%, man. Thank you.
I think there might be another exchange off camera later on. But
perfect. I just stayed there. Lovely.
He's like, let me take it back.
I'll just put it
safely back in my corner.
This goes.
Can I just ask, and will you actually reveal?
Yeah.
What is that worth?
I think it's worth around $350 with the actual presentation case. But I have to check country to country because every country's got different duties and taxes.
Where is the cigar from?
This one's actually made in Costa Rica.
Whoa.
Because it actually it allows you to import into America as well. So it gets around the Cuban regulations.
That looks so hot that I would consider taking up smoking cigars just to
But that's my next
experience
question.
it.
But that's my next question. Do people actually smoke that, or is it just a presentation thing?
No, smoking is good for us because that's where the profit
You can sell
is.
more, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind if everyone has a display version, but yeah, I think they should at least.
At least have a go.
I know we're completely veering off topic here, Kalpesh, but this is absolutely fascinating. Is that actual gold?
It is 24 carat.
So hang on. So if I
It's
smoke
breathable.
this,
It's breathable, not like the old James Bond Goldfinger days where they painted the lady in gold and she couldn't breathe. This one, we actually can paint people in gold.
so this is gold leaf, 24 karat gold leaf on here. If you smoke this burns with the cigar, does it?
It does, yeah. Yeah. Doesn't affect the draw, doesn't affect the taste. But you'd like to
Amazing.
try it yourself. I
My
think.
good. So you would literally? No, I don't think I don't
smoke
think I ever would. But also the thought. I mean, to smoke something that's $350 and to just see it burn away right in front of you, literally before your nose.
Wow.
That's you better take that
Definitely
back.
a celebration
Did you notice my hand
cigar.
was shaking just holding it?
I think that's another episode as well.
That would be about aging.
Just a few of the things that we have access to.
So guys, stay tuned because I think Kalpesh will be amazing us with some more items. Because last time he made us in another. I won't go into what it was because people haven't seen it. But there's an incredible. Shall I say bottle that you brought in?
Yeah.
That was quite surprise. It was quite a surprise. So you need to keep watching these because you never know what he's going to
Might
bring in
come up
next.
with.
Yeah.
You never know.
So
I'm
anyway,
liking this new friendship, by the way, Jalpesh.
This is only the beginning.
I should say Kalpesh, Kalpesh.
Yeah, we have got.
Not-
That's a lifetime of connection, right
Not
there.
related. Just because they're from the Peish tribe.
I thought friendship was meant to be from the heart, not from
pocket.
Not from the
materialism.
pocket.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Ooh.
that's a whole different direction.
Lucky, you know what? You've touched on something that we are going to be talking
Yeah.
about in a bit. Actually, that's
about
really
that?
good. That's really fortuitous of you. But before we do that, so let's go back to you, Kalpesh. What have you been doing since 1987?
Oh my gosh, that's a long rewind. The short version, if you like.
I'll hold this.
All right, just in case I take over, right? So I like that control,
Seriously.
control freak, man. Some
I'm
things
the
never
guy.
change.
I am the mic controller. Leave my mic alone.
Love it.
I know we've known each other a long time, but don't get
We're not
too-
that comfortable.
Don't you?
So back then when we met was the turning point, I guess. When we met, I was just, we were young teens doing crazy teen stuff, right? Really just...
we were, and there are lots of stories to tell, but that's another time.
Loads. But if I fast forward a little bit, really for me, and you know that part of my life, where when I lost my dad when I was 23 years old, that was a huge impact for me. And it was an awakening, if you like, of like, hold on a second, that was, I'm 23 years old, my superhero suddenly is gone. And I don't have answers. And it just really sent me down a real different trajectory that I couldn't have predicted, because before that I was the most liveliest, bubbliest, life and soul of everything, give life everything you got. And all of a sudden I had no interest in anything. And that was a downhill trip for 3 years. And along that way, I found personal development through a friend. That was a turning point for me, where all of the answers I would have loved to have had beforehand that weren't given to me through school, college, university, everything that everyone does, those answers don't exist there. I had to go and search for these elsewhere. And when I got those and started piecing my life back together, I got so passionate about personal development. I've literally spent the last 23, 24 years of my life being an advocate of it and just sharing the possibilities that are available as human beings for us to tap into a higher power and to do way more good than we even realize or give ourselves credit for. And it's just been about enlightening the world. So all of the businesses I've got involved in, I've kind of over the years become known as the enlightened entrepreneur, because I will not do anything that doesn't resonate on a higher frequency, if you like. So again, it's great what you say, it's not about the money. Don't have a problem with money, but it's not about that. It's about the impact that you can have, and then the byproduct being money is fine, but just making money for the sake of it wasn't doing anything for me anymore, which previous wasn't even in my radar. I would have it was about hustle. All of a sudden it became about value. So I spent all of these years.
So do you think that basically took you into a more spiritual place in terms of your career and in terms of your personal development?
Everything. So I literally embraced this whole new philosophy, if you like, of a values-based, principle-based living. and my relationships with my family, my friends, my social activities, my business activities, everything I did was around that central pillar, if you like. So it had to have some kind of a higher purpose rather than just doing something for the sake of it. So I've traveled the world, like literally super blessed to have been to, I don't know, I've never counted actually. I'd love to sit down and count, but I've literally traveled.
I know what you mean, because because of the job that I do as a journalist, we often get invited to press events around the world, and people are like, have you been here, have you been there? And literally I cannot remember.
Yeah.
It's terrible because when you're on press events, you're just part of an event and you just follow what they do. And I've been to many places and I literally couldn't tell you where I've been.
Right. I'm very much like that. And so I've been blessed to do that. I always say to everybody, travel as much as you can, because it just opens your perspective, broadens your horizon big time.
That is true though, isn't it? Would you say that, Kalpesh? Because you've just come back from India. How was that?
It was really amazing because it was a friend's wedding. So I didn't know the whole family. But as soon as you go there, you feel like part of the family. So you leave thinking you've also got a new culture, new transport system.
Yeah.
And on top of that, also you've got...
I wouldn't say new.
Well, a new potholes.
A transport system.
So it's amazing. I mean, traveling actually teaches you more than your school and college in some degrees. You know, you're getting to meet people, you're seeing things in a different vision. And I think that really is worth doing. I think everyone, if you've got children especially, try and take them when they're about, I don't know, there must be
in the formative years.
Key age to take them traveling around the world, because they're going to learn so much. It's going to make them a much more rounded person, I believe.
Do you think that traveling and going other places makes you a more tolerant person and more understanding person of what's happening in the world and other people?
I think it definitely does. I've myself tried to do a bit of traveling as well from time to time. I used to have a couple of European roles for Deloitte and AT&T. So I was quite lucky, actually managed to go to pretty much about 20 or 30 different countries over about 6 or 7 years. So it definitely opened up my horizons, and so I've learned a few languages, speak fluent Italian now.
Wow.
And my Punjabi is a bit rusty, need to go back to the homeland because I haven't been for a while. So yeah, definitely, it's a good idea, I think.
His Bangra's all right though, don't worry about that. But he can order you a pretty good pizza. So we were competing earlier about how long we've known Kalpesh. So how did you get to meet him?
Kalpesh and I, funnily enough, actually went on a course called The Landmark, which is a course that helps you to understand yourself better from a self-development point of view, in terms of putting your past in the past, coming to the future, and becoming more present to going into the future with more clarity. So I think that was hugely powerful, and there's a lot to be said for it. So I think you may find that the same for yourself, Kalpesh. Or?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a massive turning point, and highly recommended to anybody that's just wants to raise their game, to increase their awareness.
Now, one of the things that we used to say about you back in the day.
one of many.
Seriously. No, so I'm going to play devil's advocate.
My caveat is I was very different back then, but go on.
He had hair.
Yeah, for sure.
But
they were the days.
And I'm going to play devil's advocate because I can, and I can get away with it. I'm going to put it to you, because we used to say you got the gift of the gab. You're a great blagger. We used to do all kinds of stuff, and we used to get in there usually because of you. If you've ever watched the A-Team, and in the guy in the A-Team was the face man, and he could basically talk. He could get anything and talk them into anywhere. That was him back in the day. He could do anything, right? A few weddings were gate crashed, and God knows what else. Now, so I'm going to put it to you that, because now you're a motivational speaker, you go around the world, you talk your stuff, and basically, isn't this just an extension of the gift of the gab? Aren't you just because you were able to talk? You're just talking. That's all you're really doing.
Yeah, the difference is that now I speak with a purpose, whereas before it was just blabber.
Yes.
So I'll tell you what it does.
So define the purpose. Define the purpose. What is the purpose, and how are you helping people? What actually are you doing here?
The purpose of everything that I share on stage now is to transfer my life experiences, my perception, my perspective, my understanding of the things that I've picked up along the way. I've spent hundreds of thousands on education now over the last 2.5 decades. And most people don't have
this education for yourself, the training and stuff,
correct.
Right, yeah.
And most people don't have the luxury of doing that. So what I do is I literally take all of that I've taken time to travel and learn from experts, masters, gurus, condense that into a simple, understandable, applicable form, and deliver it to audiences that want to listen. And so it's a bit more than motivational speaking, because I often say motivation will make you feel better in the moment, but then what? And so it's more, for me, it's more about inspirational, transformational. So I speak to impact. I speak to to audiences to really talk about the stuff that a lot of people don't want to talk about, and to create personal relationships. We live in more now than ever, but even as human beings, we always do this anyway. The phrase "keeping up with the Joneses" has been around forever, right? So there's always a facade of trying to look a certain way to outside people versus what actually goes on inside. I want to deal with the stuff on the inside. So forget all that stuff. Forget the showmanship. What's going on in your world, really? How is your relationship with your spouse, your children, your parents, your siblings? How is it really? Not how are you presenting it.
So are you saying that what you're projecting externally comes from how you're impacted internally from these factors?
When I'm done sharing the insights and the, if you like, strategies of how to be, for me, it's about living in a way that you're not wearing multiple hats. You're not a different person in every different environment to show up.
But we do wear multiple hats, don't we? In daily lives, we have to wear multiple hats.
See, the have to bit is not true. You can. For me, if you don't have to wear those hats, it takes the pressure off. Like, I'm just me, wherever I am, wherever I show up. I don't have to impress anyone. I don't have to.
So this is you.
Always.
So you really would wear those colored trousers?
I picked them out, man. And I've got the whole range. The orange, the yellow, the green, the blue.
And the shiny shoes. For those people listening and not watching, he's wearing, what color is that? Shocking pink, or what is it? Wasn't pink? I don't know what color they are.
What are these?
Yeah, what color are those trousers?
Let's say that.
Reddy orange.
Yeah. Reddy orange.
Red, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
They're bright.
They're very bright.
But again, it's that's me, right? It's like bright. Just shine your light, right? It's like, why not?
Shine your light. Have you ever been to a motivational session or anything? Have you ever listened to a speaker like that?
I've been asked to, and people send you lots of links. But I think it's about the person. I think when you're ready, you follow that course. And I think it's a beautiful thing to do to help people. I think that's all that you're... I mean, it's very empowering that you can go on stage and actually do what you do. Because people say to me sometimes, oh, you should do this, you should do that, but I will never go on stage.
Right.
I mean, even getting in front of the camera, this has taken a long time to get to this stage.
And do you know what? And you share that, and they say it's one of the biggest fears in the world is getting in front of others and being vulnerable. But you talk about the gift of the gab, and I say that is my gift. So it was maybe before personal development and self-awareness, it was a gift that was unpolished. It was just naturally already there. So for me, when I got on stage for the very first time all those years ago, I didn't have that experience of fear. I didn't have that nervousness in my tummy, shaky hands, sweaty palms. A lot of people describe like shaky legs, all that stuff people describe. I never had that. So for me, I often say it is a gift. And there's two kinds of speakers. There's people that have learned to speak, which is cool, but there are people that are born to speak. And I often say I was one of those that was born to speak. So it's never been an effort for me.
I would say that too, Kalpesh. But Lucky, I know that you do follow a lot of people. I know we've spoken about Gary Vee, for example. That's somebody that I often follow as well and watch quite a lot of his stuff. And it's very interesting. A lot of the information that he gives you and a lot of the ideas that he gives you are really interesting. How much do you think, in terms of personal benefit, both in terms of personal development and career development, is there from following people like Gary Vee, like Kalpesh Patel?
I think in this day and age, if you really want to get ahead in business, psychologically, be at your best, I think you got to be, if you can get the quality of content that you can get now, literally you can be at your best every single day. You've got those choices available to you. You didn't have those sort of choices available to you maybe 10, 20 years ago. People weren't really aware. So I think we're living in a time where what you would learn in the 6 months from going to a course or something, or a seminar, or even finding something on Google and just looking at it randomly.
So you can learn from an hour watching videos like this one, for example. So that's,
exactly. I think the time is now. 6 months can be literally a day in terms of picking up really, really valuable content. And I think the difficulty is actually digestion and action. A lot of people can actually see it, but they may just like it. They may not actually take it on board because people get a bit overwhelmed. They don't know what's good or bad. They can't tell between good and bad content.
See, that's a very good point, Lucky. And I want to ask you on this, Kalpesh, because there are a lot of people out there now creating content, if you like, pimping themselves as motivational and speakers and inspiring people.
New age experts.
A lot of the new age experts. A lot of the content is sort of being recirculated. It's just going round and round and round. I mean, how do you separate the good from the bad?
Do you know what? Unfortunately, because of the way social media is currently designed, and it's not monitored or regulated, it's filled with I won't call them charlatans, but I think new ages that they've suddenly read a book and they're the expert, versus somebody that's got a life of experience that they're sharing. And I think that's what you want to look for. You want to look at the history or the background of the person that's sharing with you, like how much of what they're talking about have they used to transform their personal life, and so how relevant is their sharing? Is it theoretical? Is it conceptual? Or is it heart-based and life-based? Is it something that, when somebody's sharing their real experiences, the insights are not just ideas that sound fancy. So that a lot of my kind of talks are around this, that, we're living in a time where there's so much information coming to us from all different directions. It's like somebody standing there 24 hours a day, or at least 16 hours a day when you're awake, with a fire hose pointed at your mouth, full on. And people are trying to kind of take it all, and you're not going to take it all in. So it's like, okay, how are you going to control this flow?
But from what I understand, what you're saying is that, look at the individual's experience, look at their life experience. Because if they're talking from a place of experience and a place of, they've been through it,
correct,
that's different as opposed to they've just read a book. I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, doesn't that come from the old, lots of sayings in the world, and they've all come from experiences?
Yes.
So wouldn't that not go back to going to your grandparents and saying, and actually talking to them and saying, well, I take your advice because you've gone through this. Obviously, the world's changed a lot between the time periods, I believe, so there's new experience you need to get. But it's the same principle, I thought. It's a family, which I think we're getting more distant from that. Instagram is just a picture of your best self. It's your marketing and PR role.
Yeah.
It doesn't show you as a character.
Yeah.
So I think if you go back to family and you go to grandparents, ask them for advice based on their interactions and what they've done, I think it's going back to that, and then choosing a motivational speaker that has the same sort of history.
I think that's really, really good, Kalpesh. I think you're really right. I think that's something that we don't do enough of, is actually talking to more senior people in our communities and in our families. What I want to, and it's, you've touched on some stuff there. Now, you recently put up something on your social. It's kind of like a manifesto, wasn't it? It kind of, as if I know we're in election season at the moment, but it was kind of like your, what was it, 7-point plan or something about life, wasn't it? But to be fair,
Mandy's put lots of things out, so if he's pulled out one thing that he's just done, might be a bit unfair.
Yeah.
This is all encompassing. I mean, this was pretty massive.
Wasn't it?
Somebody's going to stand up for Kalpesh.
Yeah.
Why?
Vote for Kalpesh.
Eat some jalebi, right? Actually, we haven't offered you any jalebi yet.
I've been looking at it going, oh my gosh,
go for it. You got the gold cigar, so I thought that's all it is.
Thank you. We have to offer
it. There you go. Thank you. Oh, there you go.
Do it properly.
It's okay.
So I'm just gonna look at this post that you put up, because we've been talking about education, we've been talking about learning, and one of the first things that you spoke on this was the education system is designed to enslave your mind, stealing your creativity and dreams through mind control in exchange for important letters after your name. What do you mean by that?
I know. The risk of offending all of those people that went through college and university to get these letters,
all those people sitting out there with massive degrees and masters, and they're like, what the hell does he know?
I know. So look, sometimes I write because you want to grab attention and stir emotions. So I'm not taking anything away from anybody that's taken all that time out of their life to master a subject and then deliver on that subject. Great. What the point I was making, really, or am making, is that education is the education route that you and I and pretty much everyone goes through, doesn't serve for the bigger picture of real life situations. And so what most people do is they take that education and limit themselves to it. So if you ask people, who are you? Most people reference themselves as their career. I'm an accountant, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, it's like there's a pride in that. And be prideful of that to an extent, but who are you after that? Like if that was taken away from you, now who are you? And most people haven't got a clue. They would not even know where to begin to answer that question. And for me, that is way, way more important than any letters you might have collected along the way.
So sorry, Kalpesh. Let me. So for example, Lucky, who are you?
I'm, let's just say, a person that doesn't always talk about himself openly. Because when you're in business or in property or finance, you're good at, even on the internet, I basically don't really talk too much about myself specifically. But what I do is I do share snippets of who I am. So if you want to know who I am, I'm probably like a very...
following on from what Kalpesh is saying.
Yeah, I can tell you who I am now.
Do you understand who you are? If for example, you didn't go and learn the things or do the qualifications that you did, would you know who you are?
I would say so. I think... for example, for me, it's quite a direct question, but I would say that I'm let's say, quiet, humble person who just like simplicity in their life.
Who are you and what have you done with the real Lucky?
So the real Lucky is really probably the person that's been created by my parents, or something that I suppose in society, if I was actually just quiet, simple, and just sat here, nothing would actually happen.
No, you wouldn't be sat here then. We wouldn't have you on the show.
So really, you got to sort of come out. So I think going back to this question, like Kalpesh was, let's say, born somebody with the gift of the gab, say a good orator. I was actually very, very quiet and very shy. So literally I had to force myself to come out of my shell. And the way I did that was actually force myself to take small steps. So I think the biggest step I ever took was there was a 100,000 man conference in AT&T, a global teleconference between all the staff. Wow. And then they said, does anybody want to ask a question? And I actually forced to put my hand up. And I was actually sweating buckets. I mean, that shirt completely went. And I just sort of asked some sort of clever question just to sort of get my name out there. So I've actually sort of done it the long way around because I didn't have the sort of knowledge or experience. So I'm almost like somebody who didn't have that environment or the skills in that way because not really from that sort of family background. My family are quite low key. They're sort of charity workers and they're sort of working class. So I actually had to sort of push myself out there. So now I can probably go up to any conference and speak and not really worry about it at all. I wouldn't really.
You don't need to change your shirt. You don't need to change. You don't need to change your shirt.
That's a challenge.
Kalpesh, now we know what that smell was. Anyway, Kalpesh, how much do you think you've learned from life as opposed to education?
This is what I was going to say. I think education is 20 years behind what life teaches you. And unfortunately, education gets to a point where you're older and you don't learn to make mistakes. I think you learn from your mistakes and you should be allowed to make mistakes. We're always about you have to get the A's and the B's and everything else. No, actually, go for a C or a D, but try and see the world differently. And that's going to teach you a lot. Creativity is taken away through education. And I think that's the shame. I think I've noticed a lot of billionaires in the world, and a lot of them haven't had their education. They've actually done and taken risks. Risk, not being scared of failure, and not having to live up to somebody else's dream is how you should live your life, I believe. Because I think there's a lot to give as a human being.
How important is it, Kalpesh? Because we've just heard Lucky talk about how he had to push himself, beyond his own shyness and his insecurities, if you like. And we've just heard Kalpesh talk about how you have to take risk in life. So how important is it for individuals, if they want to achieve, to push the envelopes of their existence?
For me, that's the only place you can find out your potential, your true value exists in your not in your comfort zone, but outside of that comfort zone. So taking risks is a massive part of growth. I've been an advocate of this forever. Risks from a very young age, the risk of failing exams, not going for the A, but saying, right, where am I? That of me. I'd rather get the C and live a really great life than get an A and have a really nerdy life. That's conscious choice. Where do you approaching girls? I always used to just walk up to them, right? Just like if I saw somebody that was beautiful, I'd never, I'd have the conversation. Oh my God!
We would normally stand you. We'd say, we'd like point out a girl and then stand back. Let's watch him at work.
But it's not that the fear wasn't there, but it's acting in spite of the fear. And I encourage everyone to do that. Do things that stir up a little bit of emotion, make you a little bit uncomfortable, because that's where you grow. Because then you realize that, hold on, that fear, how you had it in your head, the disaster that it was going to be, it's never as bad as you thought it was going to be. And the more you can push yourself into those spaces of uncomfortableness and fear, the more you embrace them, the more you can achieve in life anyway, just by default.
So is that an evolution of oneself, or is that creating a version of oneself?
Creating. So it's not as finite as that. So evolution would be like what Lucky said. Evolution is you're bumping into your own self and pushing your own envelope at your own pace and at your own speed and growing organically, which is cool. But a lifetime's not enough to grow organically if you want to achieve massive productivity, efficiency. If you want to get the most out of this 80 or 90 or 100 year window, then that's one way of learning, which is great. And another way of learning is accelerated learning. And that's where you go out of your way to learn from people, from the elders, from people that have been where you want to be. So I always say, find somebody that's where you want to be and get into their mind, get into their world, get into their shoes, like really find out what is it going to take for you to grow into that. And so now you can speed up the process.
Yeah, a thought comes to mind. There's a book I haven't read yet, but I actually heard about it, and I think it sounds like the type of thing that really needs to be brought out in this conversation. So there's a book called Learned Helplessness. I think what it refers to is about a lot of people actually have certain experiences in life and they just stick in that life because that's what they've learned. So they're helpless in it. But reality is that once you get caught up in that psyche, that becomes your life. And the reality is that it doesn't have to be. And I think this is where somebody like Kalpesh, who's a subject matter expert, should probably shed his light on terms of if you are stuck in learned helplessness, which is just your norms within society, within yourself, within your own psyche, then there is potential. You can actually, if you're not being happy, you're not satisfied, you feel there's something missing, then somebody like Kalpesh is actually opening up that 0.1% in your head to open up the rest of the 99.9%. I think this conversation could be critical for those of you out there who are not realizing that you are stuck in learned helplessness.
So we're talking about almost a trigger of achieving your potential, so to speak. Yeah.
That's right.
I want to move on a little bit because otherwise we are going to be talking for hours and hours and hours.
One day seminar.
Yeah, seriously, it will be. And to be honest, we might have to have you back on again, I think, because I think that might be an answer, really. But I want to go back to your I'm going to keep calling it manifesto because I think that sounds right in the current climate. I'm going to ask you, Kalpesh, what do you think? Do you think economic growth is always good for a nation?
I think it has to be linked to the purpose of what the nation's trying to achieve. So there has to be a goal for the nation, for the nation to say, this is what we want to achieve for our people and for the world, and this is how we're going to achieve it. If you just focus on the money, well, then soon Bitcoin will come out and your money's worth nothing. So you should focus on the actual higher end of what is he trying to achieve. And how do we achieve this? I think that's the best way forward. I personally would think.
I totally agree, and I think that we were talking earlier, weren't we? We were talking about there's TED interviews. Now, someone mentioned rival podcasts now, but anyway, we're not really rivaling TED. But there was an interview with I think an economist called Kate Wayworth, and she was talking about how continued growth is actually detrimental to society, both in terms of the environment, but also in terms of people and in terms of business itself. And you've mentioned quite a lot in your number 2 and number 3. You've talked about the job system, how it's designed to enslave you in your time, and you've talked about the money system, which is just riddled with effing laws, I'll say. You were a little bit more colourful. Poverty is just it's just leading to increase in homelessness, starving even in this world. What's your take on how economies should run? I mean, I do feel that, when you talk about these massive companies and they're just targeted with year on year growing and growing and growing, it's like, just how is that sustainable? And is that really good for us?
Well, I think we're living in a time now where it's very apparent that it's not sustainable. And this whole construct that we put together as people on the planet, and there's different systems, right? There's socialism, capitalism. You choose your communism. You choose the structure, but all of those structures are kind of competing with each other and not solving the actual, what I believe, purpose of having any structure or system in place is, which is to serve the most number of people. And so if you look at all of these structures, they all lead to serving the least number of people. Even if the intention, like communism, it talks about serving the most, but in reality ends up serving the very few because of the nature of greed and fear and just the whole power, the human dynamics. They all lead to that place. For me, when you look at what is the purpose of having a political or economic system, is it not to not have homelessness, to not have hunger, to not have starvation and no clothes? We're living in a world, it's 2020 around the corner. And we've got over 2 billion people on the planet that are living on poverty or below. Like, we're obviously not...
In the 21st century, it seems unacceptable.
Can you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, every Christmas is such a wake up for me because the adverts start popping up. And it's the same advert that I've been watching since I was that high. And it's black kids or Indian kids that skin and bones flies around their face and give us your money so we can solve their problem. And I'm like, well, if you've been telling me you're going to be solving their problem for 50 years, it can't take 50 years to solve that problem. As a global, the resources we have as humans, it's not possible, let alone thousands of years. So it's got to be built, that the system that we built is designed to have that alive. And I have a problem with that we don't do enough as collectively as humans. And I think there's a move in that direction a little bit more because of social media, but there's no way that those things can remain unresolved for much longer if we collaborate and unite.
But do you think the solution to that, or the motivation to progress towards those kind of solutions, is going to come from business or from politicians?
Neither, because both are driven by very similar dynamics. And that's why I talk about this a lot. It's going to come from the people. It's going to come from the people on the other side of that fence that aren't limited to those structures and constructs, that are able to act outside. And funnily enough, myself and a few friends have set up an organization called World Transformation Organization, which its sole purpose is to give people that option. We're not operating in the structures that are already existent. We're creating our own paradigm of what's possible, where people come together as a collective. There's no agenda. There's no profit agenda. There's no kind of manipulation of a system or a person. It's not greed and fear driven. It's driven by love, contribution, and giving back and making a difference.
Lucky, you're a businessman. You're into property.
That's right.
You make money. That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
And so isn't this just crazy talk? He's talking about, you can't do this. Business can't work. Business is not going to help us.
No, wait. Let me just correct you there. I have busineswant I don't have a problem with businesses, but they serve a different purpose. So yeah.
So, but the point is, so I want to put it to you, Lucky. How do you think that the economic systems of the world, I mean, not transformational over a number of generations, because the sort of stuff you're talking about is going to take a while, but like in the immediate, what can we do immediately to start making a difference to the world?
I think if you've got the right intention, I think the good thing you can do is maybe, first of all, make yourself more aware of what's actually happening. Because you can get caught up in the debt, structuring the rat race, which is, I think, in terms of what Kalpesh is referring to in his article earlier, is about people getting very much caught up into materialism or the financial system. So you got to, first of all, make yourself aware. Second thing is, if there's lots of Eastern religions have an ethos, which is to give selflessly. So if you can start just doing the basics, don't worry about trying to change the world, because it's not going to happen in day one if you're one individual trying to go and change the world or trying to be like a billionaire or something. It's not going to happen. So the idea is to do some small things. So go to your maybe local temple, go to local charities, create awareness. That energy itself will actually feed other people's energy. And the third is being effective in your communication and understanding of things, and not really letting things sort of go by without you realizing what it really means. So you may be eating from McDonald's some food, but you may not realize, where it's come from, or
you might not realize it's not actually food.
or who it's impacted. From very, 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 very noble words from Lucky. But do you think that there's an opportunity for these things to actually happen? Do you think that we've gone too far beyond the point of selfishness and materialistic consumption to be able to throttle back from that and to go down that route?
I think although you may see the world negatively, there's a lot of good people there, and one good person can change the world. It has happened. People have done it, and the world is always changing. In the same way, people think, oh, I'm not doing too well. Oh, look at that other person. He's doing so well. Well, that person has gone through the same story that you have, but they've changed at a point in their life. It's changed. So I think every individual has the opportunity and ability to change the world, because there are all people out there like that. And I think when you're born, you're never born with anything negative to say. So we start from the clean. So why do we make ourselves into what we are? So all we have to do is reverse engineer ourselves and think we can all make a change and we can all make a difference. And you can do that anytime.
And I think that on a collective basis, if we do that, I think then that's really going to start to make an impact. Yeah.
I've got a little story to share just to sort of add a little bit of...
How long does this story go on?
It could go on for hours, actually. I'll
Maybe another time.
I'll try and do it in 20 seconds.
Okay, go on.
So, literally come out of my building in Mayfair, out of the office, just standing outside making a phone call and about to go back in. Then I had this elderly gentleman in his maybe 70s or something walking past. He goes, I'm looking for the Nehru Center. Do you know where it is, please? And I said,
It was English.
I don't know.
Was he from Jamaica? Was he from Jamaica?
Is it? I think his name is Mr. Patel or something. So it wasn't Kalpesh.
No relation.
No relation. But I just said to him, look, and I just thought, actually, I'm really busy at work. I've got about 20 phone calls to make. Then I thought, actually, if I just take 10, 20 minutes out for this guy, can't do any harm. I thought, okay, don't worry. I said, don't worry, I'll walk you there and I'll drop you off because my car's just parked around the corner. And I said, let me just look it up. And I said, it's about 15 minutes from here. So I just dropped, because I said, it's about a bit of a walk for you. So I went to the car, dropped him off. Then I sort of literally went inside and met all these people. And I said, just dropping this guy off. He goes, oh, that's really wonderful for you to help somebody. We actually, I said, we should, if you need any help with anything, let me know. And they said, oh, it's a Nehru Center, but we work with high net people and we're looking to actually organize events. So why don't we work with you? Because we want people that are not money orientated, they want to help people. I said, okay. They said, well, your deed of helping this guy is actually really good because we're not worried about you being a billionaire or a millionaire or something. We just want somebody who can do good deeds. So I said, okay, well, glad to be of assistance. So that's the story anyway.
No, that's great because that's a great example of that there's a free taxi service around the Nehru Center. That's all lucky. And secondly, that these chance encounters, these small little nuggets of deeds that we do can lead to something massive without us even realizing. So we are going to be running out of time because obviously there's so much more to talk about with you, Kalpesh. And honestly, A, because there is just so much more to talk to you about, and B, because your manifesto goes on for 2 pages. But
we do have to ask, where did you buy the trousers? Because we all want to really know.
I love it. I know these are from Boss. The shoes, I think I bought them from a shop in Italy, but I don't know the name of the shop.
So they've got Kalpesh Patel, sponsored by Boss, or he soon will be.
Yeah. Kalpesh, I want to ask you a bit more about the work you're doing in terms of the global transformation. Obviously, it's on a more of a serious note. What is it that you would like the audience to do in terms of actually, number one, that you think is going to help them, so there's something positive that comes out of this? Secondly, what sort of audience do you speak to? How do you get invited? Those are 2 quick questions.
Okay, great. I'll answer the first one, the second, because the how I get invited, because I want to speak about the second one more. The first one.
Okay.
Just get on with it.
How I get invited to events, very simple. Go to my website, connect with me on social media, and just approach me.
What's your website?
It's thekalpeshpatel.com, so www.thekalpeshpatel.com. And I love talking about transformation. I love talking about whether it's entrepreneur. I've been a businessman all my life, never had a job, so I'm very, very familiar with what it takes to survive on your own, of your own accord without relying on somebody else. So entrepreneurship, so coaching around that, but also life, relationships, communication skills, all of those kind of areas. And in businesses, oftentimes they kind of combine a lot. When I work with owners of businesses, they're surprised that I spend so much time getting their family life and their personal life sorted out first and how that impacts their business. People go blind, not realizing how much they're all sewn together. Coming back to the more important and more, what I call is our legacy project, our World Transformation Organization, is, again, we've got a Facebook page. Just go and connect there. We've got a community page as well.
Do you know what the URL for the website?
If you just type in World Transformation Organization and World Transformation Community, they pop up. So join there.
Or is there a link on the kalpeshpatel.com?
Not on the website, no. I'm not that organized, but Lucky's going to help me do all of that soon.
No problem.
But they can get in touch with you through the website, right? Yeah.
Just reach out to me and I'll let you know how to connect the dots. How you can get involved, we've got what we call 5 spokes to the umbrella of World Transformation Organization. One is we opened a school in Delhi 2 years ago, almost now, and we attract 600 students a month to free classes on meditation, yoga, personal development, self-awareness. It's an amazing school right in the middle of this slum that makes a massive impact in an area that normally wouldn't have access to that kind of education. The teachers come for free because they love making a difference. The students come for free, and we're transforming that community. We want to roll those out globally. So yeah, just follow that story. It's amazing. We have something called World Transformation Day, which happens on the first Sunday of April every year. Get involved. What happens on World Transformation Days? We celebrate transformation. It's like Valentine's Day, where people celebrate love. Mother's Day, we celebrate mothers. Father's Day. On World Transformation Day, we celebrate people that have made a difference in their lives. So you can do a vlog, you can do a blog, you can do just an acknowledgement letter of somebody that's impacted your life in a positive way, and just say thank you. You can also take on a personal transformation. There's all sorts of different things you can do on the day. We had people last couple of years on World Transformation Day doing meditations at home, but inviting their neighbors or their family, which was something they wouldn't normally do. So it's getting a little bit uncomfortable and exposing the real you behind closed doors to the people in your environment. So that's a personal transformation. We had people doing community transformation projects, so going out on the streets and feeding homeless people, clothing them. Myself and a few friends, we went to a homeless, what do you call it? Like a place where homeless people can go and sleep for a night. And we invited all of the people that stay there. We told them in advance we were going to be there and gave a talk on how to cope better with their current situation, which is not permanent, it's not comfortable, it's tough, but how to deal with it in a way that just gives them more power as they go through their transition of having everything to suddenly finding themselves homeless. Not a cool place. But we did a talk there. We had people going to old people's homes and taking their children along so that their kids could spend time with older people, but also older people could get that vibrant energy of youthfulness coming to the homes. So that's anything for your community that you can do. Just go and do that on that day. And then we had what we call a Facebook Live. So if you've got an expertise in a certain area that you want to share with the world, then do so on that day. Create a webinar. And just share it out with all of your social media contacts and share what you know, but with no agenda. There's no selling, there's no promoting. It really is a selfless day. So the day is all about how can you do everything that you would love to do normally, but you're too busy, you're too caught up, your survival, doing what you just do the rest of the year. On that day, just drop everything and make it not about you. What can you do to contribute, to add value, to make the world a better place? We truly believe, 2018 we launched it, we reached 12,000 lives through social media. This year, in April, we reached just shy of 45,000 lives. So if we take that trajectory along next year, on the 5th of April, happens to be the Sunday, we should reach 160, 170,000 lives without effort, like the last couple of years. But we decided to impact that number. So we're going for 1 million lives touched in 2020. So hence why we're speaking about it from now. The last couple of years, we spoke about it for 2 months before. Now we're keeping the conversation alive for the whole year. With a view to, we want to get an army of 1,000 people around the world on our Facebook page, where we're just approaching 500 now. And these are people that are committed to making World Transformation Day, call it famous, like known globally, being the voice box of it. 1,000 people by the end of this year, and then the next 4 months of 2020, we're just going to all get really busy on social media and let the world know that there is such a day, and to celebrate by giving back on that day.
Pretty awesome. I told you could talk, didn't I? Exactly. Where are you talking next? Where can people come and see you or hear you or meet you?
Most of my talks are international, so I'm traveling. I don't do much in London at all. Having said that, you said next that I've got a talk in Wembley, funnily enough.
Yes, just down the road from us.
Sorry, not Wembley. Heathrow. Same thing.
Well, a bit further down the road, yeah.
Heathrow on next Saturday. Is it next Saturday, the one after 6th of December? So yeah, come along.
Definitely after that.
Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks away, Saturday. So I do a rare one in London.
Although people may be listening to this at a different time. But anyway,
sure.
So the best way to do is to look up on your website and then they can find out.
Facebook.
Exactly. Any final words, Kalpesh?
I think that's a great thing to do, and we're all here to try and help. So hopefully we'll spread that message and we'll get our audience to come on board.
Awesome, thank you.
I think that's the way to do it. Yeah. It's been an absolutely amazing session. I knew it would be. I knew it'd be fun, but also very inspiring and very informative. And I think that a lot of stuff to think about there, and to to maybe help people and inspire people and get them to move on in life, both in their personal lives and in their professional lives. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me here.
Kalpesh wants to have the Lucky wants to have the final word, because he always tries to do that, doesn't he?
Okay, I couldn't resist. Okay, there was one last thing I think is important to bring out, which is that, do you know, anybody out there who's actually looking to make a difference, I think it's important that you realize that it's just the small things that you need to do. You don't need to do tons of things. But if you think you really want to make a big difference and really make it big, then one of the things that you can do is actually work hard in business, become successful. And with that success, you can actually help more people. So one of my personal sort of inspirations is that I feel inspired that if I can make lots of money, I'm not really worried if I had £1 million and £1 million, I'm actually happy to give it away. So my pledge to is that as soon as I hit the first million, I'll be happy to give you at least about 50% of it.
Wow.
Towards that, because I'm not really. Money's not my. Money's not.
You know what?
Money's not my.
I nearly dropped the microphone. Then
I
was like, hang on, can I have the other 50%?
So the thing is that with that intention, it was one point I wanted to make.
Look, Lucky, are you for real? Are you serious?
I'm being serious, yeah.
You're really being serious?
Yeah.
This is incredible. Wow.
It is.
Yeah.
You get it.
Okay. No, it's fine.
You get it.
And I think there was a second thing which I've forgotten now, the train of thought. But the main point is that
have some jalebi or get back on track.
Actually, I haven't had that. So that's probably
it.
The other thoughts actually slipped my head now, but the main thing is that I think if you're out there wanting to be successful, then make your success to actually doing something good. And I guarantee 100% you will be successful because you have a cause that's going to make a difference. But other thoughts come back to my mind now, which is really critical, I think, for this conversation, which is if you're suffering in your work, in what you're doing, or you've got debt issues, you've got family issues, whatever you got going on, technically you haven't got any issues, in my opinion. Do you know why? Do you understand why? Because if you're doing what somebody like Kalpesh is doing, which you're serving others, it's impossible to be depressed, impossible to have anxiety, impossible to have psychotic issues, because when you're giving to others, then you can't really suffer internally, because you can actually see the bliss from God in terms of what you can give. Now that's how I wanted to end my statement.
Grateful for what you have and grateful for what you can give is what you're saying, which is brilliant. I will give you the final word, Kalpesh. Before I do that, make sure that you follow us on the Big Jalebi. We might start giving out free boxes of jalebi at some point if we get a sponsor. Big Jalebi. Or check us out on the website, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tell all your friends. We're on social media. We'll be on everything soon. And make sure you follow that. Any questions, any thoughts, any comments you have, please do let us know. And any suggestions for guests and stuff, because we're lining up quite a lot of amazing people. And do stay tuned, but if you think there are other people that we should be talking to, we're all ears. So Kalpesh, final thought from you. Distill all of that, what was it, 150 grand's worth of learning that you invested in your life. Distill all of that into one final thought that you want to project out there to our audience today.
That's such a big ask, but I'm going to be... I'll leave you with this, that rather than thinking about all of the amazing things you could do with your life, just start doing, even by taking the smallest one of those and taking a step in that direction, and see what doors open up. You'll be amazed that when you get committed to moving in the direction that you were called onto this planet to move in, all the doors that open up, the universe will start working with you rather than against you when you get committed to a bigger cause beyond your personal kind of circumstances and lifestyle.
I think we do a high five on that.
That's a good one.
You need a bit of energy.
Good one.
High five. Yep. All right. Well done, Kalpesh. Fantastic.
There you go. Brilliant. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you watch us again soon. Bye.